y'all. It's Zai here with the Command Her Network. Welcome to episode 10 of The Passion Tea, where we explore the lives and careers of Caribbean and African women. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like the content on this channel. Now, if you didn't know, I come from a long legacy of powerful women. Among those powerful women are headstrong matriarchs, healthcare workers, and a New York State Senator. Senator Roxanne Persaud represents the 19th Senatorial District in New York State, which oversees Southeast Brooklyn. After completing high school in Guyana, she immigrated to the U.S. where she attended Pace University in New York City. It was at Pace University that she earned a bachelor's and a master's while working full-time on campus, along with volunteering in her community. Fun fact, she is the first person in our family to graduate from college. Since the month of June is known as Caribbean Heritage Month, shout out to all the Caribbean-American them. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for my aunt to come on and share her story of finding her voice in a foreign land. Check it out. Please join me in welcoming New York State Senator Roxanne Persaud. Auntie Roxanne, how are you?
I am well. Good morning, and thanks for having me on the program.
Of course, and happy Caribbean American Heritage Month.
Same to you. We've been having celebrations already. We started by having a celebration on June 1st in Albany, and so we'll continue.
Oh, very nice. What are some things you guys have planned up there?
So we had a celebration where we had consul generals and from various countries and legislators. So we have, I think, about 32 or 33 legislators in both houses who are of Caribbean descent, and I proudly tell them I was born in Guyana. So it's not just that I have an affiliation with the Caribbean. So we celebrated that, and we had participants come up from New York City to Albany to showcase the Caribbean culture.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and this Saturday the 10th, we're going to be hosting a celebration here in Brooklyn, right here in my area in Canarsie Park, showcasing Caribbean heritage.
Awesome. Well, I know you guys always have some great things planned, so I hope you get a great turnout.
I hope so. The weather should be good, and so we are looking forward to people coming out and celebrating.
Very nice. Well, Senator Prasad, I'm really happy to have you on. You have an incredible story that I think so many young people can listen to and take after and hopefully and be inspired by. You're a former assemblywoman turned state senator. You represent the 19th Senatorial District in New York State. But before that, you started off working at Pace University and then went on to become a registrar at St. Francis College. Prior to even that, this whole journey started in Guyana. Can you please provide us with a description of where you're from in Guyana and what your life was like growing up?
Well, thanks again for that intro. I was born in Guyana, and in Georgetown, Guyana. So when people say they're from Georgetown, I'm really from Georgetown. I was born there, and we really had a good life in Guyana. Our parents left a few years before we came up here. I am the only one of my siblings who finished high school in Guyana. My other siblings finished middle school and high school here in New York State. And but we had a great life in Guyana. There were many things to do. I started volunteering while I was in Guyana. I started as a brownie. I had an aunt who did everything to uplift communities, and so I volunteered with her. And so when I came to the United States, it just transitioned, and I continued all of the things that I did in Guyana. But we had a great time in Guyana. It was always family, family, family. We always stuck together and did things so that we always made sure that we had a positive light on the family and the things that we did.
Mm-hmm. And you are the oldest sibling. Did you feel a heightened sense of responsibility now moving to a foreign country?
I didn't feel a heightened sense of responsibility because we were always close knit. We always did things together, so there was no change in that. My siblings, some of them came a few years before I did, actually a year before I did, but we were always still close knit in everything that we did, and we always looked out for each other. So There was no heightened sense of responsibility to ensure that I was doing things to protect them or to ensure that they were on the right path because, we had that structure already.
Did you have any individual fears of your own, moving to a place that you had never been to? What was going through your mind when you found out that you were moving to America?
So we knew we were moving to America for many years. So while we were going through the process, and then my dad and some of my siblings came. My mother came up here first, and then my dad and some of the siblings, and then we came. And we always knew we were coming to America. And you knew about America based on what other relatives told you about it, and it was this great place and all of that. Until the day that I, landed at JFK, and it was in January. It was snow on the ground, and it was freezing.
Yeah.
And I stood there and said, I wanted to go back to Guyana. I was not interested in being in a cold place. And then, interestingly, we got home and we were sitting there like, oh my God, this place is cold. And you're cooped up in a home. And, the first week, you're accustomed to always being able to walk outside of a house and walk around the yard and all of that. The house had a backyard and all of that, but you couldn't do the things the way you did it in Guyana. You were
Yeah.
really cooped up in a house. But after the first week, we're like, we're not going to be stuck. We're going to explore. And we started, going out. And at the end of the first week, we took a train ride to New Jersey on the PAC train. So we started. We're not going to be stuck in one place. We are going to explore, and we're going to learn the places that we are now going to call home. And so from then, we went on to do the things that we've done to this day. We were not stuck in any way.
Mm. I love that story about you guys taking the PATH train together, because,
Right.
yeah, maintaining a strong family unit is something that I know has always been very important to you. And even within your work, you serve as a member of the New York State Senate Committee for Children and Families. You also serve on the Committee for Women's Issues, and you're also the chairwoman of the Social Services Committee. Can you tell us about who those key family members were that set you up for success both academically and professionally?
Well, I looked at what my parents did. They were, again, strong about keeping families together, making sure we did things together. And then I had an aunt in Guyana. Her name was Alberta Pinkman. She's actually the person that my mother grew up with. And people would say to this day that, she was more of my mother because everything she did, I wanted to do. And she opened the doors for me to do things, again, with volunteering and all of that. And I looked at everything that she did, and I wanted to make sure I did the same thing. And so doing things to uplift communities, it was just like became second nature. Even when I came to the United States and I started working at the university, I became involved in all of the things that uplifted communities. I started volunteering with a program that the university was doing that helped young kids who were living in NYCHA developments and all of that, making sure that they stayed in school and opened the doors for them to do additional things so that they can see that there's a path for them outside of the confines of their housing development. And all of those things we did. Started volunteering with every organization possible, because it's always about uplifting people. And so, as chair of the Social Services Committee in the Senate, it's my duty is to ensure that I lift people out of the position that they're in. And so we work with the agencies, work with organizations to ensure that the policies that we're enacting will endeavor to lift the people out of where they are. It's a social service is about moving people off of their dependence on government and making sure their lives are stabilized, and then they can move on. So it's just a great thing for us to be doing.
Mm. You've done a lot of volunteer work here, but you've also done a lot of volunteer work back in Guyana as well. Some people may not know that you've participated in humanitarian projects alongside various Guyanese organizations. Tell us about some of those projects and organizations that you volunteered with.
So it's interesting, someone asked me that last week, I think it was, have you gone to Guyana to volunteer lately? And I'm like, no, I haven't had the opportunity to, because of the schedules that we have. But going to Guyana, I would go to Guyana with organizations, and we did cancer work. We took doctors from hospitals here in the United States and in Brooklyn in particular. We did the surgeries in various parts of the country. We did because we were social and health advancement. It was our mission. We started the first cancer walk in Guyana, working in partnership with American Cancer Society and Relay for Life here, giving us the tools for us to do those things in Guyana. And we did breast cancer screenings. We taught people about how to self-breast examination. We spoke on mental health issues. We spoke on domestic violence issues, educating the women in particular on those issues and how to take command of your lives. So it was a lot of things that we did in Guyana. The various governments at the time worked with us whenever we were there. And so we just made sure that we were doing a lot of things within communities that were in need. And so we went from places in Georgetown, places in Essequibo, different parts, Linden, different parts of Guyana, to do some of the great work that we did. And, I'm looking forward to the day that I can go back and volunteer in some capacity or the other.
Yeah. I think I remember actually being with you on
Yep.
one trip, yep, with OSHAG as a
Yes,
child,
that's right.
volunteering with you. And I swear you have a picture with Barrett Jagdeo, if I'm correct.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes.
So we are not going to talk about the politics of Guyana,
Of
but
course,
yes,
no.
and yes, we were there, and you were there in the park, and
Yes.
we were, and I remember my friends are like, "I'm not taking a picture," and I'm like, "I don't live in Guyana, so that's
Yes.
okay," So, but we were doing great things, and some of the organizations continue to go there and do great things. I was speaking to someone on Wednesday, who was going down there to do cancer awareness work because she said her sister passed away from cancer. And so now she's endeavoring to educate the people, continue the education there
Yeah.
on cancer awareness, particularly breast cancer awareness. And I always remember, when we were there, we were talking to people and we had men in the audience. And then when we talked about men getting breast cancer, one of the reporters, he passed away the other day, Mondale was his name, stood up and says, "What are you talking about? Men getting breast cancer?" And we said, yes, it does happen. It's not as frequent as when women get breast cancer, but it does happen to men. And so we made sure we were teaching men also how to do self-breast examinations.
Absolutely. And not just breast cancer, cervical cancer.
Cervical, yes.
Guyanese women, I think, have one of the highest rates of cervical cancer in the world. So it is essential that we continue to raise awareness about, getting screening as soon as you can.
It's also about people willing to have the conversations.
Yeah.
We are people tend to not want to talk about the symptoms that they're experiencing so
Yeah.
that so that they can get treatment. They think, oh, it's just something oh, it's going to go away, it's going to go away. And that tends to create the issues that we're seeing and the high incidences of mortality because people
Mhm.
are not receiving a treatment. It's because they're not going and they're not having that conversation. They're not going, like here, we go for our annual mammogram, we go for an annual physical, we do all of
Right.
these things, and they're not doing the same things that we're doing. And so we're trying to encourage them to do the same thing. And we have to look at also talking with the government to make sure the healthcare system is brought up to a world-class standard so that people receive the treatments and services that they should be receiving.
Mhm. Mm. Senator Persaud, we often hear about the stories of men who have helped Guyana become what it is today. However, Guyanese women have played an instrumental role in shaping the nation. Unfortunately, their work doesn't receive the same acknowledgement. Can you share with us a Guyanese woman, past or present, who inspires you and why?
I on the political end, I'm not really sure. I've seen the Guyanese women who have done things, but a person who inspired me again will be Alberta Paquin.
Yeah.
She was what they call the head of the hospitals, the matron of the hospitals at various hospitals. She did all the different things, volunteering. She did, whether it was at doing things with the blind, doing things with the old age home as they call it, or those kinds of things, and that inspired me to want to do those things for community and to make sure that we're always working to uplift communities in whichever way possible, so that whenever you leave a space that you're in, you've made it better than when you walked in. That's what she instilled in us.
Mm. This is, well, Guyana just celebrated its 57th Independence Day. Of course, it was a very somber Independence Day due to the fire that took place, where I think close to 20 indigenous youth died at the in the dorm fire. But there is a lot of hope and potential for Guyana's future right now. If you could provide one piece of advice to a young person in Guyana who is eager to make a difference in their community, what would that advice be?
It would be speak up and become involved. You see something that needs to be changed, be that change. It starts with you. You cannot sit back and just say, "Oh, this is not how it should be," but do nothing and
Mm.
just accept the status quo. People have to decide to want to make the changes. It's sometimes changing is hard. I tend to remind people that change is inevitable. The struggle to get that is optional,
Yes.
right? You have to want to be that change that you want to see. And so young people should not be afraid to speak up. The culture in Guyana is, you speak up, sometimes there's a lot of backlash,
Mm.
whether it's political, whether it's social, whatever. But you have to be willing to say, I believe in this and I will step up and make that and be that change. It will start with me. And then others will follow because
Yeah.
they are seeing that you're standing up for what is right. And that's all it takes. It just takes one person to decide, I'm going to take one for the team and step forward and start doing what is right. Otherwise, we will not change as a culture.
That's
We will continue to have what you currently see, the racial and ethnic divide that we're seeing, until people decide that, what, if you really believe in the unity and the understanding that we're six races of but one people,
mm.
we'll start having those conversations and stepping forward and saying, let us change.
Hmm. That's right. It does start with us. Well, I appreciate your responses to these questions. Like I said, you have an incredible story that I hope young people listening today take heed to and find inspiration within themselves. I do have 5 quick trivia questions for you. I know you
Oh
have
boy.
to go.
Okay.
I think you'll get these. I think you'll get.
Okay.
But all right, let's start with the first one. Name the current president and prime minister of Guyana.
So it's Irfan Ali, and that's the president, and the
Yeah.
prime minister is, oh my gosh, and I met him too. He came to my office. Oh,
Let me give you a hint. Mark is his first name.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember his full name. Oh my God, and he was a military person too, and all of
Yes,
that. Oh my gosh, can't remember his name. Oh my gosh,
Mark Phillips.
Mark Phillips.
That's
That's
always
right.
hard to
He has,
get.
he's a British. He has a British royalty name too.
Yes.
Yes. And I can picture him tall and everything. I can picture him because he was right here. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, number two. In 1950, Chetty Jagan and Janet Jagan founded a democratic socialist left-wing populist political party that remains the country's leading party. What is the name of Guyana's leading political party?
Well, the PPP,
Of
People's
course.
Progressive Party. Yeah.
Of course. And the bonus question, who broke away from the PPP and helped to create the People's National Congress?
Forbes Burnham.
Yep. Guyana is divided into 3 counties. Please name them.
Essequibo, Demerara, Berbice.
Got it. All right. This one may be a little tricky, but I think you'll get it. Now, this is the 50-year anniversary of CARICOM as well. In 1958, 10 British territories in the Caribbean joined together to form the West Indies Federation. Disbanded in 1962, these nations would later become the Caribbean Community and Common Market, aka CARICOM.
Right.
Guyana was not among those 10 nations that originally formed the West Indies Federation. Why did Guyana choose to not participate in the formation of the West Indies Federation?
I'm not too sure, but I know because Guyana was not considered a West Indian country, right? And I'm not too sure about that, the history of that.
Right. This was a little bit. This is way before your time, so of course, this one would be a bit tricky to get. But Guyana opted not to join the federation due to its ongoing political and internal struggles for independence from the UK, which started in the
In
1950s.
the 1950s.
Yeah, so they were dealing with their own issues, and they said we cannot take on anything else at this time.
Right.
Yeah. And this one, the last one's pretty fun. Which artist recently became the first Guyanese to be inducted into the Chutney Soca Legends? Hint, he refers to himself as the real Guyana Babu.
Babu. Terry Gadraj.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Terry Gadraj. And he is the real Guyana Babu. Yes. I know. Yes.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Auntie Roxanne, for joining me today. If anybody is listening and wants to follow your work and keep up with, just everything you have going on, tell us where to follow you.
So we have a Senate webpage, and if you go to nysenate.gov, you just select my name and you'll find our page. If you go to social media, it's at Senator Persaud. You will find us on the various social media platforms. And, we tend to be very, very active in the district and making sure that it's highlighted on our social media pages. So in any way possible. And if you're living in the district, they should know where my office is. We're located in the Canarsie section of the district here in Brooklyn, East 96th Street in Brooklyn. So again, if you just don't remember any of that, just Google Senator Roxanne Persaud, and it will give you all of the information that pertains to myself and the location of the office, whether it's the Albany office or the Senate District office in Brooklyn.
I could not pass up the chance to test her knowledge. Growing up, my aunt was known as a history buff. She was an avid watcher of Jeopardy, and she loved reading books. Her love for reading and research are just one of the things that I deeply admire about her. If you're experiencing any doubts about the contributions that you can begin making to your community, remember, Senator Persaud started off as a volunteer. It was through volunteerism that she discovered a passion for empowering youth and their families. And that is the story of an unsung Guyanese-American Shero. Thanks for watching, and if you're from the Caribbean, don't forget to drop your flag in the comments below. I'll see y'all next time.